Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I only noticed this seconds ago because I was looking at things for making a thumbnail. I have only one, what do I want to say, really big complaint that I didn't realize that I didn't have until after I was out of the movie.
Hmm.
They took the hood away.
Oh yeah.
I just realized that when I was looking because it had old pictures showing up. I was like, man, I always really liked that he had a hood.
It's one of those small details that you don't really miss until it's gone.
hmm Yeah. It's it feels like forever ago that that old Shazam movie happened, and it really hasn't. It's just that one of those. I don't know what my life is since COVID happened. Couldn't tell you a damn thing that happened in my life other than a tattoo and getting my floors redone since 2019. And I forgot how much I love this crew.
It has admittedly been a while since I've seen the first Shazam, but I saw it 4 times in theaters, so clearly I loved it.
hmm
And B, it really does feel like it was an eternity ago when this movie was in development um, and it was actually kind of baked into the old DC regime.
It was, and it was part of my mentality at the time, and I'm still kind of feeling it about how I was just very okay with the at the time pitched multiverse idea because these movies just kind of happened. And like this was the one time, like they always, like in the first one at the last second you had the, you know, Superman cameo, and in this one you had the thing with Wonder Woman, but it did very much feel like it was just a movie that was happening, and it felt like a very mid 2000s thing where a character just got a trilogy of movies and then it was done. That we're just not getting those anymore, and that I got that like spark in my brain where I'm like, I'm like, I'm okay with characters meeting each other, but it was still kind of that thing where I'm like, I'm okay with that every now and then. But yeah, anyway, so man, again, I just I forgot, just because I had to think back and think of like everything that happened in the first Shazam. That first Shazam movie is so damn good.
Mm-hmm.
It had a feeling of really understanding the type of movie it was making, like everything down to the family aspect, to like the Shazam family, obviously his normal family, and then just like realizing that that movie is meant to be goofy.
It
Like
it
I Go
it
ahead.
felt like a classic 80s to 90s Amblin movie, but with a
Yeah.
little bit of like the darkness from like a horror director, with like the appropriate scale of a superhero movie.
Yeah, and then, like, like, knowing when to take itself seriously with, like, the family stuff, with when, Billy meets his mom again, and then realizing that he had his good family the entire time, and you see him, like, shedding it all and calling Shazam as he's jumping off the building and going to go save the day, to then when he's with Savannah in the middle of the city and he's making this giant dialogue, and you get the joke that Billy's too far away to hear him because he's freaking like 4 city blocks away. It's like it was the perfect balance of like, are you kidding me right now? And like Sandberg is so good at nailing that feeling. It's unreal how good he is at that.
He had like the comedic timing down to like a science.
Absolutely, and he still does. Like, there's only legit one joke that I don't like, and we'll get to it later. But other than that, I thought he pretty much nailed everything. Because like, you don't like literally get the strike of lightning like you get with Zachary Levi as Shazam, which might be some of the most inspired casting a superhero movie's ever done.
It's up there with like Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man.
Yeah, because like everyone was like, it needs to be someone like John Cena. They need to be jacked. I'm like,
No.
no. It's muscle padding for a reason. It reminds me of how Jensen Ackles got trolled by his costume fitter for The Boys. He was sitting there getting fitted for the costume, and then he goes, so you're gonna be putting where's all the muscle? I see all these suits of everybody, and I know they have muscle padding in them. And then the costume designer goes, you're gonna bring me muscles next year. So he got super jacked to get ready for all this, and then like Anthony Starr is pissing himself laughing at him, where he's just like, what's the big deal? He's like, they're just gonna pad your suit. Why'd you work out? Oh, it's fantastic. But yeah, it's just, it was so great. But and then like they continue that. You get to see that like all the kids have their own identities now, and they've like lived in this world for a while. The Philadelphia fiascos.
Yep.
So stupid. So stupid. It is on the levels of The Streak.
Yeah. All of these like clearly not their actual superhero names. It's very silly.
It is very silly. But it's just one of those where the world doesn't know what to call these people, and like they obviously aren't going to call them the Shazam family, because somehow even Billy doesn't understand that he should be called Shazam when he says Shazam. I'm shocked. I am so shocked that later on in this movie we got someone calling him Captain Marvel. I almost thought that would have been a legal issue.
I can't confirm this, but I'm pretty sure that actor who called him Captain Marvel played the character in like one of those old live action shows.
Oh, really?
I'm just guessing based on what he was wearing.
Oh, okay, nice. And I also forgot that the school was called Fawcett. I was like, all this classic stuff that's in there is fantastic. But anyway, so the setup to this movie I was not expecting. Like, I didn't think it was gonna. I think one thing that you and me will probably both agree on as we're talking about this is that movie's got a rough start.
Yeah.
But that's about the only like foible that it has. And I won't say it's as bad as some people say it is, but I will, if someone's going to say that it has problems, it does have a rough start.
It's not like it's not like the entire first act is like garbage and everything else is great. The cold open where we meet the Daughters of Atlas, that scene is terrific.
Oh yeah.
And then everything with the bridge is kind of like where it's not a face plant, it's more like a tripping on your cape.
Yeah. And like I didn't even mind that as much. Like I was very okay with the fact that they failed at something. That I was very okay with. And like some of the dialogue was more of where it was a little too ham-fisted.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what I want to say, trying a little too hard to show that Billy doesn't know what he's doing when you got back to the cave was more of what the rocky start that I was kind of getting into.
Yeah, like you would think, going as far back as like the first film, that he would have all of the powers of the gods, but these movies make it a point that like one of the powers is missing, and that just happens to be the wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Until later, when the wizard is like, "No, no, no, you have a different kind of wisdom."
Exactly. That was so well done. Oh, man, just the end of this movie is so good. Oh, it's so good. But yeah, Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu as a, and then forgive me, I don't remember the other sister's name.
That's Rachel Zegler.
Rachel Zegler. Seeing those two at first, that I was like, we casted the main villains. It's Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu. I'm like, what? Which, if I'm remembering correctly, this is Helen Mirren's third DC movie.
One of them was the Reds, or
both were Reds, because there's Red 1 and 2.
That's right.
Yes. People like to forget that is technically a DC movie.
Yep.
One of my favorites, I might add. That first Red movie is awesome. And then Lucy Liu, has she dipped her toe into superhero movies at all? And I mean obscure shit like The Spirit or any of that weird horse shit.
Good question. Keep talking. I'm gonna see what she's got on her resume.
Like, I'm trying to remember the last movie I saw Lucy Liu in that would even come close to this, and my brain is blanking so bad that I literally can't come up with a movie that I have seen Lucy Liu in outside of Kill Bill and Charlie's Angels.
So she does play a voice in Disney's Strange World. That is her most recent credit below Fury of the Gods.
Okay. How long ago was that?
Literally last year.
Oh, last year. Okay, so she's pretty current, which it is to be expected. But yeah, it was just weird. That feels like so long ago that I've seen her in something. Because again, the last thing my mush brain at 9 o'clock at night, where it is to me now, can come up with Kill Bill and frickin' Charlie's Angels. Which is like the last thing I saw Bill Murray in Ant-Man. Watch this now. Matt Rankersley, Drew Barrymore, and Cameron Diaz finally get into their comic book movies. Nope, that's wrong. Drew Barrymore has been in a comic book movie. She was in Batman Forever.
Oh, right.
That's another one I forget. And freaking Cameron Diaz has been in one. She was in The Mask.
Everyone's been in a comic book movie.
They're already there. What am I even talking about? I'm a moron. But anyway, back to this. I really like the weirdness of like somehow the parents are still unaware of like what's going on. I'm telling you, the house keeps getting struck by lightning.
My favorite thing about this, as revealed in the post-credit scene, the second one, is that it's been 2 years since the events of the first film.
Mm-hmm.
So like for 2 years, the parents had no idea what was going on.
No, not at all. And they're just like, they've got the nicknames for themselves, patterns of how they do stuff. Mr. All the Powers. No, Mr. Every Power. Sorry, Mr. Every
Captain
Power.
Every Power.
Captain Every Power. And then he's Captain Every Power Jr. Y'all are mad about the Philadelphia fiascos, but you're okay with Captain Every Power? Come on. But like, the costumes are really upgraded this time around. And then like, one thing, and I said this on my Facebook, that I'm honestly, if everything gets wiped clean, I'm seriously going to miss the Shazam cast the most out of everything that DC's been going on since they've started doing collectively somewhat joint movies. Because, man, Shazam and the other one that shows up have weird things that Marvel technically has with Thor, but they did not explore it in anywhere near the capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't afraid to get weird with these Shazam movies, especially this one. Like,
So
you legit have Atlas's daughters walking around.
yeah, and I think this is the first comic book movie in a while where like the main antagonists are like, for all intents and purposes, original characters in the movie universe. Like
Yeah.
they're variations of Greek gods and goddesses. They're not like they're not like the exact same version, but
No.
they still are pretty much based on Daughters of Atlas.
Yeah, and it's like, I get it, everyone. You have Loki and everyone else, but it's like it's very much as you could tell that it's like that's the Marvel version of them because it is. Because like I had to have a conversation with someone that they were pissed that Thor looked like a pudgy bodybuilder drunk in Ragnarok. And they're like, that's not what Thor looks like. I'm like, no, 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 no. That's not what Marvel Pretty Boy Thor looks like. There's a difference. These actual tales of these people aren't pretty, and they don't look pretty. So getting to see that, like, the actually hearing about the wizards stealing the powers from these gods to like free humans and all this other stuff where it's like the gods actually sound like bad people. It was interesting to see because like until you had Zeus in Love and Thunder, you really pretty much just had good gods that were kind of just living peacefully on Asgard. You didn't get that here, and I really much liked that. And I also liked that they weren't all on the same page.
Something I just realized, like even though the old DC universe is kind of like dissolving,
Mm-hmm.
this movie technically could count as a sequel to the first Wonder Woman in terms of like the gods and their relationship with the humans.
Yeah, and it's, well, let's be honest here. It could count as a sequel to both of them because this one's current day.
Yep.
We keep getting flashbacks, and it's it like I said, where you got the one thing that I've always loved about the Shazam thing of how they created it is they were very much strong in the family aspect. I, a person who outside of my let's say a chunk of my mom's side of my family, very much operate and have close relationships with a very much found family. And that is one thing that I appreciated so much about that first one. Like they nailed that you just blood doesn't make you family, and the abandonment thing, and realizing that his mom did not care whatsoever about him when they finally did find him, and that it was great. And seeing him bonding with his family and it finally kicking in that like the main reason he's acting like such a control freak is that he's so close to being moved out of the system because he's turning 18. Like they weren't scared to age up Billy, and that was a smart move because
Yep.
you're gonna run into a Stranger Things problem where the kid's gonna look 25 by the time the freaking third movie would have came out, and he wouldn't be 17 anymore. But also, that's keeping in the whole family aspect.
About that, did you notice that Mary Marvel was played by the same actress both as a civilian and a superhero.
Yeah, I liked that. Because it's like, she's an adult. It's like, if you aged her up, it'd be weird.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I was okay with her being in both because I'm not going to lie, off the top of my head, I'm forgetting what that actress' name is. She's incredibly talented and she's a beautiful woman. So I was very okay with her just being like, you know what, you can stay as the adult.
Her name is Grace Fulton, by the way, and
Grace Fulton.
she is great.
Woo! She's great. She's amazing. I'm not going to quite have a Matthew Carnes, Catherine Newton style breakdown in the middle of this. But hey, if the opportunity ever came knocking, I'm available. Anyway,
speaking of the weird stuff in Shazam, this movie leaned in very hard.
Oh yeah, and it's one of those things where you kind of have more allowance with it because of the still partial detachment. Like you had a sentient pen named Steve, and the Great Hall of Doors, and the eternal burning violin, and it's like all this stuff where it's just like Shazam is weird. And they weren't afraid to be like, yo, we're going to talk about some of this dumb stuff while we're just sitting at the Rock of Eternity.
I'm so happy that Sandberg let this movie be weird, because a boring director would have just made the sequel be Shazam versus Black Adam. And don't get me wrong, it's not that I don't want that. I just don't need that to have been the second movie.
It doesn't need to be the second movie, and I'm going to be one of those people. I like The Rock. I like Zachary Levi. I don't think The Rock would have been okay with doing the deed that he needed to do.
Yeah.
Because if you put those two against each other, The Rock's not going to be okay with losing that fight.
No.
He's not. And he would have wanted utter and total shenanigans even to get a tie. Because I love The Rock. I do. But after a while, there was rumors going around that he, like, borderline is not okay with even losing a fight in a movie. And again, love The Rock. Love everything he's in. Loved him ever since he was a wrestler. But he is very much with protecting his ego. And Zach would have, in my opinion, been very okay with doing whatever was needed. But you don't go into that movie expecting Billy to eventually lose.
Mm-mm.
No. And I think that would have been a gigantic problem.
I think so, while we're on this tangent, one thing that bugs me about The Rock as an action star is, at least like Stallone and Schwarzenegger, they allow themselves to get like beaten up and ripped to shreds. Like even Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones was mortal.
It's to serve the plot. You can always come back, and when in the end, there needs to be moments where you look weak. Because if your superhero's perfect all the time, it's weird. And boy, reset the clock. I'm going to mention Gurren Lagann. There is few times, and I mean this blows my mind the more I think about it. In that entire series, Simo never loses a fight. Not once. Spoiler alert, Kamina dies. He has emotional setbacks, but he never loses a fight, but he is still an underdog for 27 episodes. How do you write a character that never loses a fight and is consistently the underdog? That is nigh impossible. But no one wants to be in that position where you barely scrape by as action heroes nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be dominant all the time, and that's where part of the problem is.
And I think that's what I appreciate about this movie is,
yes,
like Billy Batson gets beaten up quite a bit.
Oh, he gets his shit kicked in. And he's very okay with that. And like the main cast never really has a moment where they're dominating ever.
Mm-hmm.
They have moments where they're doing better and moments where they're looking on the up and up, But again, because they're kids at heart, they don't do adult decisions at times and they make mistakes, which is fine. And it's a part of why I like this so much, because the most he acts like an adult is at the end of that movie, and we'll get to it. But seeing just like how cold-hearted a villain can be in a PG movie is one thing that I like that they sneak in every now and then. Like, I try to explain to people just how actually R-rated of a murderer Darian Cross is in Ant-Man 1. He turns a person into goo, folds him up in a towel, and flushes him down a toilet.
That's messed up.
Because there's no blood, that's not rated R. That's messed up. And
something about the MPAA always baffles me with their decisions.
Oh, it is. And that's why Transformers got away with as much as they did. Optimus Prime freaking takes Sentinel Prime by the neck and rips his spinal cord clean out and then parades it on a bridge. But it was motor oil and not blood, so it's okay. And then there's two moments in this movie where like they turn everyone to stone and she just pushes that dude over. She cold-blooded murdered that guy, but it's okay because it's dust. But also, I have to also, like, I forget completely. Was Dietrich Bader in that first movie?
Let me double check, because I only remember him from this one.
I think one of the most cold-blooded murders in these recent DC movies was Dietrich Bader. She literally psycho commanded him to walk off of the building and kill himself. That is cold-hearted as hell, and it's in a PG-13 movie. That blew my mind.
Nope, he's only in this one.
Okay, good. Because I was like, I think I would have remembered if Dietrich Bader was in the original. But, yeah. And that happens. He gets his power stolen. And then, like, from then on, they're kind of getting the shit kicked out of him. And, like, they're trying to figure out that they fully don't know and he's not that great of a commander because they're trying to get the whole Wisdom of Solomon thing. A Wisdom of Solo Man. It's so stupid. But they kind of make the main team take a back seat to Zach, to Billy, which I kind of wasn't expecting. But like, you're trying to show this whole thing was about him figuring out who his family still was, and like that he can let them go. And I like Fury of the Gods. I didn't expect that to be the main plot of the movie. This kind of came out of nowhere to me and got to me, not as much, but kind of how the Yondu father-son plot with Peter comes out of nowhere in Guardians 2.
Yeah, like I wrote in my review that this movie, in a way, is kind of a meta commentary on like, well, on the character, in part because he doesn't really get his superhero name until the end, but also it takes him like his entire arc to figure out A, what kind of hero he is, and B, who his family truly is.
Oh, absolutely.
And also it takes him until the end of the film to call Rosa mom.
I became a puddle in that theater when that happened. Because they're going through all this and he's going to be aging out of the system and like he's realizing he doesn't want to let them go. And then like they finally connect the dots. And okay, we're gonna get the one thing out of the way, the one joke that I did not like because it felt forced. I was very okay with the situation, but it felt like the most forced thing on the planet, the I'm gay reveal. Did that not feel incredibly forced?
A little bit. It was kind of like one of those wrong place, wrong time
Because, like,
kind of
I'm
moments.
okay with that. I'm very okay with, like, I go to church every Sunday, Baptist Christian here. I'm okay with characters being what they need to be in stories. But I was like, that would have been a thing to, like, discuss later on and have a heartfelt moment with it. I just felt kind of weird that it was played off as a joke versus a figuring out moment for that character.
Or just we didn't even really need the figuring out moment because it was already pretty heavily implied.
Yeah, where I was like, cool, they get that. And it kind of kicked that moment for him in the gut when it was overshadowed by them, like, revealing everything else about them. Where I was like, I'd have been okay with, like, at like a family dinner afterwards, they kind of like talked about that. So I was that was the one legit moment where that took me out for a second. I'm like, that was the moment we were going to talk about that. But anyway, one thing as we're going to get to that moment where he calls him mom, because I think that might be my most favorite part. I mean, that lead up, build up thing and toward the end might be one of my favorite endings in a DC movie. Period. But oh, and now it's escaping me. What's the name of the dragon?
I think it's like, hold on. Keep talking. I'm
Okay,
gonna find it.
Normally movies like this that have ass loads of different designs of different special special effects and stuff like that. They kind of, at some point, some of them end up falling apart and not looking good. I never had an issue or thought that anything that was a special effect in this movie looked less than basically perfect. Everything was well done. The harpies, the cyclops, the minotaur, the manticores that showed up, everything looked great. And that dragon, who I can't for the life of me come up with his
Layden.
Layden, thank you. He looked awesome. That's like one
Right?
of my top 5 dragons in movies, period. That thing was insane looking. And like, and again, in the Shazam movie, we just had a dragon. It was just there. Why? Because it's Shazam, and he deals with stuff from different gods. So we just had a dragon, and like, it doesn't even breed. It just breeds fear into people. It just literally oozes fear, and you got to have him. Oh man, now I can't think of the other. My brain is mush today. I've had such a long day at work. Kid with the crutch.
Oh, Freddy.
Freddie Freeman. That moment with him when he's walking towards Anthea and he's not scared and the fear effect is having nothing on him because the entire time he only thought he was cool because he was a superhero.
That moment was awesome.
It was such a good buildup because he was so jealous of Billy in that first movie of that he only thought it was cool because Billy was Shazam. And then that moment paid off so good. And I was like, you're making him to be quite the douchebag with his powers. So I'm like, you better have a payoff for this, because otherwise you're making him to be a douchebag for no reasons. And they nailed it. They absolutely nailed it. And then just finally having them figure out what was going on and how they wanted to do it. And all the dialogue in this movie is also good, but yeah, him calling her mom thing. Again, for those that don't know, my original last name's not Hatfield. We don't need to go into it, what my original name was, but I'm very much a fan of people figuring out who their actually family was, not through blood, but through the bond of proving what family actually is and putting the work in to become that. When they're going through all of this and they're like talking about how like they're having issues with, I'm gonna start crying, where they're having issues with like keeping up the money, and like they're staying there past whatever, and they're not getting checks for some of these kids, but yet they're still supporting them. And then that like, and then they talk with them and also get in the battle wagon. Oh my gosh. They're just like, we're getting in the spirit of it. You kids are superheroes. We're gonna do this. They're just like, it's everything was for those kids. And like, I don't know what we need to do, but we're gonna support you. And then we're getting into it. And then they finally get there, and then Billy's like, I know what I need to do, all this and that. And she starts talking about how and he starts admitting why he was being controlling, and she's like, we were never going to kick you out. You never would have aged out because your family's right here. Oh, I'm going to start crying. And then she's like, let me see Billy one last time how I want to. God, I'm crying. And she calls him his son. And she finally calls him mom, and then blasts off. And I'm like, you don't get this in most superhero movies. I barely got it with Yondu and freaking Peter. And thank God I was alone, because I would not have been good for other people to see me how I was in that theater when that started going. Because that just, like, I got it that's how they felt about it, but they didn't overdo it, is what made that moment so good. They were just honest about it, and they were pure about it. And they're getting so much better about not being ham-fisted with that in movies now. And then you get to have Billy closing in that force field on all of them to make it so that only him, her, and the dragon are in there. And if finally they don't understand that that's what he's doing, and he gets to look like the most badass, like, yes, legit, one of the most badass moments in all of the collective DC movies.
When he's holding the scepter, I got serious Batman v Superman vibes.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm pretty sure like Sandberg was directly lifting the blocking of that scene from BVS with.
Oh, absolutely. He jumps into a big beam with the spear. And because like that's Billy always wanted to be a hero. And then like before he jumps off to go there, it's like, no, the wisdom of Solomon is missing. He's like, no, but your heart is wise. And that is not something that gets said often. Like, they always say someone's either smart or they're street smart. That's never actually like that kind of hit me, where how little often they're like, no, your heart's intelligent, and that's what you need to do. You work off your heart. I remember the last time in a movie where they literally called someone's heart full of wisdom. It was very well done. And when he figures out on his own that he has to overcharge that thing like a battery, like no one had to tell him how to do that. That was a great touch. And then when you just see him casting lightning, knowing it's not going to go anywhere outside of that dome, and he just looks like a good version of Emperor Palpatine, just freaking flying lightning all over that and just collecting it and waiting and waiting and waiting for her to come in. And then he has his moment to say goodbye, like literally say goodbye to his family. And he's like, no, this is bullshit. You don't get to do this. You told me it's one or everybody. And he's like, I get that. And all of you are my family, and you're going to live through this. And I'm just glad that I had you.
Ah, that line was so good.
And he's just, and he's like, oh, I'm saving all of you. I'm like, fuck. Like, I swear to God, if you kill Billy right now, and they let it go on long enough. Oh my Lord, they let it go on long enough. And they blow all that apart, and they have that moment again where he has that heroic like sacrifice, where they find him not as Shazam, as Billy. And they bury him on, like, I want to say Mount Olympus or wherever they were posing that as in that garden. And they're like, they're like, the staff's gone. We can't do it. And like, thank you, fucking Facebook and whatever stupid company was allowed to advertise this movie.
Yeah, thank God I never watched any of those TV spots, because how dare you spoil that moment
And like,
in the marketing?
I barely saw it even. I was literally like on my Facebook feed, how like, you know, it'll autoplay videos.
Yep.
I'm like literally the Shazam trailer was there and it was autoplaying, and I'm sitting there like looking at watching, like it was some innocent cute dog thing that was playing below it. And then all of a sudden I just happened to look up, and from the kneecaps down, I saw Wonder Woman. How do you put that in the trailer? She's in that movie for 10 minutes.
Probably even less.
This is Anthony Hopkins in Mission Impossible levels of fucking stupid. Not many people remember that. Pretty much his entire role in that Mission Impossible movie was in that trailer. But you get that moment where it's like, yeah, we can't, he gets an actual hero's burial, and it's one of the saddest things ever. And they're like, can we fix this place? This is stupid. He risked his life for like this great, beautiful world. And he gets referred to as like a real god. And he's like, can't we save, there has to be some way we can save him or fix this place. We can't. All the gods are dead. And this felt really weird to me. I'm not criticizing comic book movies up to this point. This cameo, for whatever reason, hit me differently. And I don't know why. This felt like I was watching a live and maybe because we've had so many of them, and this one was just done slightly differently, and it really wasn't. The character walks onto shot and says the thing. This felt like
a live action comic book.
A live action comic book. This felt like these were characters that were just living in a movie, living in a thing, and they were there. And that's another thing that I like so much about what DC was doing with Wonder Woman. Because again, outside of a couple of conversations with the parents and like one big scene in the fourth Thor movie, they don't talk about how fucking cool it is that you have literal gods around all the time, and that people that are very important should just be walking around, so that you have this, and this is like breath, like Zeus's daughter, like they're dealing very much with the New 52 version of Diana, where she's got like god blood in her.
Yep.
And she's like, and all the gods are dead. And she just walks in and goes, not all of them. And I will honestly say, and maybe this is just me, I think that scene would have been better if they didn't play her theme.
As much as I love that Wonder Woman theme, I kind of agree.
And it's not because the theme is bad. It's a very lovely moment. And then, like, the hero is coming in to, like, just not even save the day, just, like, kind of give closure to a situation. And then overdramatic tribal rock music starts playing for her to give birth to a garden.
It felt out of place, but I'm sure like there are still audiences out there that will enjoy the pop.
It will enjoy the pop, and it was I think it might have felt better if they played before she came on screen and not after. Because it's like you're stinging that Wonder Woman showed up after Wonder Woman showed up. But anyway, yeah, where she's just like, but going back to what I loved about that, not all of the gods are dead. And then it's like, and it plays off of who he's been joking about having the biggest crush on throughout the whole movie, literally gets saved by Wonder Woman. And like they do all of this, and then all of a sudden it took me a split second. I'm like, she just gave birth to everything that was here. That like Billy's in that. I'm like, holy shit, they didn't actually kill him. I was hook, line, and sinkered that maybe there was an executive decision that like Shazam was just done. And then all of that, and then they did that, and that was played so perfect. That is one of the best written scenes in any of these superhero movies. Like I will say that David F. Sandberg nails the tone of all this stuff so freaking well. He comes out and he's like, "You guys buried me after 2 minutes? What?" My body's still warm, guys. Like,
people like to complain about fake deaths in comic book movies, but I think this one, it's because of Levi's comic timing that he kind of had the exact right response for this moment.
Absolutely, it was perfect. There's few people that are as good as comedic timing as him. There was someone uses to describe Diedrich Bader, and I'll kind of like, he's got a little bit of that. Someone described Diedrich Bader as like a comedic assassin, because like he doesn't need to be in a full movie, but he'll show up for 10 minutes and be the best thing of that entire movie. Like Zach has got that levels of comedic timing when he's allowed to, and that very much showed it in like all the stuff with like Wonder Woman and things like that. And it just seems like two characters talking to each other after it. And it very much, it showed like how those interactions would go. And like, she's like, just save the superhero and saving the day kid. And then she just leaves. There was no big hook for a Wonder Woman movie. There was no big whatever for another thing. It was just two characters meeting and talking.
That was cool.
And I think that might be not a growing issue, but it's something I want to change. I wouldn't mind where there's just situations where characters just like met and had pizza. And I know that's a logistical contract. It costs money nightmare. I get that. But I think most people's issues with forced cameos would be a lot better off if they weren't every time to set up a sequel movie.
Yeah.
Like, I want a moment, like one of my favorite panels is Hawkeye and Spider-Man bitching at each other about what is better, Five Guys or Whataburger. Like, give me two of those moments out of every 6 movies, and it would be the best cameos you've ever had. Like, because we're at the point, I'm sorry, you're never topping Cap on your left, and then the portal scene happens. You're not topping all the superheroes or like a superhero meeting. You're just not. I can't even describe to you what my body went through in that moment where it was like, oh, they're all alive. Everyone is. Because they do such a good job of like, as soon as he finds out his wife's alive, they make you not think about the fact that everyone is undusting everywhere else and getting ready to come there. And then that happens. You're never going to mimic that again. So every now and then it wouldn't hurt to have a silly, stupid cameo.
So basically the shawarma scene, but for different scenarios.
And like have it be something random. Like just randomly like, okay, how do we want to phrase this? In what do we want to say? Daredevil Born Again. Something like Kate Bishop randomly has to defend why she shot up a place, and she's just in court. 2 minutes. That's it. It's not bringing up a Hawkeye season 2. It's not doing a whatever. It's just there because guess what? New York's kind of busy in Marvel.
Yeah.
It's kind of stupid to where there can't be a point where you can't get someone to go, we'll give you $50,000 if you show up on screen for 20 minutes or like 2 minutes. Come on. We'll green screen you in. But yeah, okay, so I very much like that also. Again, the feeling of family. Everyone just felt like a family at the end of that movie. Everyone is like, hey, who wants their powers back? They immediately just got to be like a guy at Christmas and all that. And then like the wizard cleaned himself up,
and
you
looks
know,
more like just Jaimin Hansu.
just like Jaimin Hansu. It just looks perfect. And like you find out that they bought the house, they helped them fix it up and all that, and the no Shazamming in the house. And oh, it's wonderful. They're just the best. And he's like, yeah, I wanted so long to figure out what you humans were like and all that. And he's like, you're not too bad and all this. And like, what is our boys with going after older women? I'm actually 6,000 years old. This is really awkward now. I feel worse about this. But so we're going on an hour. We need to get to those after credit scenes. I really like the movie. All of it was great, and it's some of the best special effects they've ever done. David F. Sandberg, I know that you said in the thing recently that you might have franchise fatigue. For the love of God, do one more, and then you go do whatever you want, please. And also do a horror movie.
Yes, I need to see another original horror movie.
Yeah, and like just off of in a PG-13 movie, what you were allowed to do and make a unicorn look that terrifying, do some random like gothic creature horror movie. You've got it in you.
Yes.
Get someone to give you some money and do a rated R, just like weird creature flick, please. Oh, it'd be awesome. But so these after credit scenes, I want to know if these were the original ones. I could guarantee you the third one or the second one was original. I want to know if that second one's original.
Oh, you mean the first one?
The first one. Because there's a very good chance that that was a reshoot. Considering we now know that Mrs. Gunn herself is going to be in the rest of the DC movies.
Oh yeah, because well, we know there's a Waller series coming,
Yes.
and that same cast from Suicide Squad and Peacemaker will probably be in it.
Yes. So
And
I
also, this still kind of makes Black Adam kind of sort of canon.
Kinda. But I'm waiting to see if we have the Justice Society, but they just do it over with kookier characters.
I just want to see the. I love how Billy makes the joke that the Justice Society and the Justice League are both in this universe, and both they both have justice in their name.
Yeah, or Justice League Internationals. Like I was waiting. Like I want that. I wanted like that needs to get talked about. How dumb comic book naming convention. We're the West Coast Avengers. Really? Like there's the Great Lakes Avengers for crying out loud. But I just love always just like, isn't that kind of redundant? How it's just like I did like the Secret Initiative, or the Secret Society. This is like, oh, I got it. The Avengers Society. That one sounds really good. But also, Amanda Waller. It is kind of weird that the last time we saw her and this crew, they were going after Black Adam, and now they're going after they were going after Black Adam to lock up Black Adam,
and then they want to recruit Billy.
Yeah, and they know he's Billy Batson, and they don't, and and that's the weird thing of like, does this movie exist in a new continuity? Because in Peacemaker, the Justice League is a thing, and they reference in this thing that the Justice League exists.
I'm sure by the time we get to Superman Legacy, the status of the Justice League / Society will be cleared up.
I hope so. Because, man, it's weird seeing this. Like, again, I'm one of those people that's perfectly okay with just wipe out whatever you don't need and go. And the best part about Billy, for the most part, he's one of the ones that is detached enough to where you don't got to bring a lot of baggage with him if you do keep him.
Yep.
And like Wonder Woman to an extent too, Aquaman, yeah, it's like you get to be those ones that weren't always 5 minutes on screen with Batman and Superman outside of like Justice League movies. So, but and it'll be interesting to see how they do that. We'll have to see, because James also said that he's maybe revealed like a third of chapter 1.
Something like that.
Freaking ridiculous. But also, I said this on my Facebook, and especially after that freaking second credit scene, if I do not get this third movie with Mind Control Caterpillar after he's had 2 end credit scenes hyping him up, I'm gonna be pissed.
It needs to happen. Just straight up, it needs to happen.
This is the dumbest, and boy, if we had dumb. We've had leapfrog, okay? We've had dumb.
But this is my favorite kind of dumb.
Yes, this is the best kind of dumb. The plan that I just told you about, what I want to do for blank week, is dumb. I love dumb. I need to see Billy fight a caterpillar. I need this in my life. I said it 400 times in this review how I'm appreciating that Shazam is stupid. I need to see him fight a caterpillar. Because you're not going to see that in any other movies.
Nope.
Like, we're not going to see Egg Foo in a freaking movie fighting Wonder Woman. And the fact, it's like, we still got Mark Strong, so we could have Mark Strong showing up again. They didn't just, like, forget that he existed. Because, Mark Strong can't be the other role that he was better at in DC. If you ever get Sinestro again, you should just be like, hey, Mark, you'll have makeup on and you could do an accent. We should have you be Sinestro again. Oh boy, was he wasted in that freaking Green Lantern movie.
To be fair, everyone was wasted in that movie.
You had Michael Clark Duncan as Kilowog. You don't... That is assassin level casting.
Mm-hmm. So overall, I think Shazam Fury of the Gods, in my opinion, and this is only going by the first viewing, and it's only because the first act kind of trips on its cape. That's the only reason why I think this is a step down from the first movie. But I say give us a few more watches. It might go the other direction.
I am tipping back and forth between it. I think I still like the first one a little bit more, but I'm talking like 1 or 2% more, because like you said, the story is a lot more, there's no real bumps. It goes the whole way through pretty straight, but like the high moments in this movie are higher than the high moments in the first one.
Agreed.
Not to say that they're bad. It just, like we said, the last 20 minutes of this movie is masterful.
Yeah.
Like, wasn't expecting that level of storytelling from the Shazam movie.
I think the best comparison for this movie to the first one is like Guardians Volume 2 to Volume 1,
mm-hmm.
which eventually I came to the conclusion that I liked Volume 2 better, but that took a few tries to get there.
I like Volume 2 better, but I knew that leaving the theater. Give or take, I have a unbelievably personal reason for why some of those storylines hit me harder than the rest, but I still overall think that that second one was better, even taking that out of it, because yeah, it everything was out of the park with that. But man, it's going to be interesting to see what we do with this third one.
I'm very curious to see how this performs at the box office, because I've seen pretty alarmingly low projections. Like, it might only get as high as 30 million.
We'll have to see. We'll have to see. I hope the best for it. I do. And I'm going to be honest with you. This is the first time where I was kind of like actively irritated at a Rotten Tomatoes score.
Yeah.
Like, why? I understand it's even lower, but I'm like bordering on rotten? Like, really?
I haven't read anyone else's reviews yet because I wanted to go into this movie cold. I'm very curious to see why people are not as high on this one.
Yeah, and it's like if most of their reason is like that the first part's clunky, like I'll get it, but like you and me would both agree the ending more than makes up for it.
Oh, easily.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, but we're just past an hour. We need to get the crap on out of here. All right, Mike, where can everybody find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Twitter at Ren Pop Culture. We're also on YouTube, on Podchaser. You can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/RenegadePopCulture. And you can listen to all of our podcasts on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. Need an escape? So do we.
Absolutely. You can find me everywhere at Organoid Zero and mainly on Twitch and YouTube. I just recently just thought up an idea with Mike that this might be the most excited for a small week-long project on this channel that I've ever had. Y'all don't know how much I love dumb movies. And I don't mean Avatar: The Last Airbender was a bad movie. I mean bad movies. I live for schlock. And I mean schlock that knows it's schlock.
Like Velocipaster.
Like Velocipaster. Grade A, top shelf, just chef's kiss. And if what we have planned comes to fruition and I get the people to do it, it's going to be a good time. But anyway, the other thing I need to discuss, literally in about 2 hours and 10 minutes a week from now, if you are a fan of Resident Evil, I will be streaming Resident Evil 4 Remake at midnight of the release date of the game, and I will be giving away a digital deluxe edition for PS5. I have to because I pre-ordered the game twice so I could get the physical edition and have it at midnight, so I had to order it myself, and I will be giving you the code that comes with the big edition that's got all the digital deluxe goodies in it. So you will need to be watching at the time and subscribe to me. $5 to win something that's worth $80. All you'll have to do is have your subscription, and then you type something in, you get thrown into a big old raffle thing that auto generates itself out. We'll watch it live on screen, and then you will know if you won or not. $5 to win something that's worth $80. I think that's a pretty good deal. We will see you all there. Until next time, we will see you all later. Bye.